Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Mayor Pro Tem Clark, Manager Madrid, Clerk Canton, and my fellow commissioners, I'd like to welcome you all here today, this morning, for our business meeting of Wednesday, June 12th, 2019. It is now 9 o'clock. I will call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Here.
Honorable Kathy Clark is absent. Honorable Rolf Fischler.
Present.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Here.
Honorable George Seghetti.
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I'd like the minutes to reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Clark is absent today due to illness. The next item on our agenda this morning is silent meditation. I would ask that each of you join me in 15 seconds of silent meditation, please. Thank you. The next item is the pledge. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item this morning is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted, or are there any changes?
Mayor Whitehead, I'd like to move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for June 12, 2019 as submitted. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would also like to, at this moment, ask everyone that has a cell phone, please. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item C, presentations. We ask that you limit your presentations to 10 minutes. The first item this morning is the proclamation naming April 14th, 2019 as State Envirothon Champion Scat Cats Day in honor of their win on April 14th, 2019, every year forward. Okay, could I ask each one of you Scat Cats to come up here to the front and kind of stand right up here, and I will read this proclamation. Proclamation, City of Truth or Consequences. Whereas the New Mexico State Envirothon was held April 12th through 14th at the Aspendale Retreat Center near Cloudcroft, where team members Elias Garcia, Soils and Team Captain, Rika Manis, Aquatic Ecology, Juan Pablo Reyes, Forestry, Nathan Brown, Technology and Agriculture, and Hunter Armijo, Wildlife, competed. And whereas the Envirothon included a hands-on environmental problem-solving competition, students completed training and testing in 5 natural resource categories, including soils and land use, aquatic ecology, forestry, wildlife, and the special topic of agriculture and the environment, knowledge and technology to feed the world. And whereas the team dedicates many hours studying, practicing, mentoring, and training on each environmental category. And whereas the Hot Springs High School Scat Cats Envirothon team has won the New Mexico Envirothon competition 7 out of the 8 past years. And because of this dedication and commitment of the team, as well as the guidance and support of the coaches, Mark Hedge and Lorena Rojas and Perez, the team experienced another victory on the 14th of April, 2019. Competition in Cloudcroft by winning first place again with one of their best finishes. And whereas the Scat Cats represent our brightest and best, and they deserve all of our support for what they have achieved. Their victory this year once again brought a sense of pride and honor to the Hot Springs High School and to the City of Truth or Consequences on the local, state, and national level. Whereas we send our most sincere best wishes as you represent our communities at the National North America Envirothon on July 28th through August 2nd at North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina, where over 49 teams from across the U.S. and Canada will compete. And now, therefore, I, Sandra Whitehead, Mayor of the City of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, do hereby declare April 14, 2019, and each year after as State Envirothon Champion Scat Cat State in the City of Truth or Consequences, and encourage area citizens to applaud all of these young men and women for their accomplishments. Signed today by myself as the Mayor and our City Clerk, Renee Canton. Again, congratulations to each and every one of you. And at this time, I will ask the clerk to pass out the proclamations.
Pablo, Nathan Brown, Coach Armino, Coach Mark Hedge, Coach Lorena Ross, and we have one additional for the school.
Again, thank you guys. Keep up the hard work. Okay, the next item on our agenda this morning is item C2, presentation related to the America's Cup for Spaceport America. Chris Lopez, Operation Manager. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for your time this morning. As soon as we get to the correct slides here. Again, the time to work with the Spaceport America Cup is upon us again. It's happening next week. And just wanted to make sure that the entire community, even those folks out there in Radio Land, understand that we would love to see all of you out there. Here we go. So this year we do have 124 teams coming and descending onto southern New Mexico. This is the premier rocket competition in the country. We have over 14 countries, 38 states represented, 5 days of competition with over 1,500 international competitors. So we're quite excited about this event. Hopefully I use this right. There we go. There's a picture of last year's competitors that did come up. I can't tell you and thank the community of TRC enough. The students very often go from their launch days out at the launch site to come back into TRC, and the hospitality this community shows is extremely valued and very much appreciated. This is a quick video of NMSU. NMSU for the first time ever competed in this competition, and this is their kind of a story of their journey. And will it play automatically, or how do I? That's the pointer. I just need the play button. If you wave the mouse to the bottom left corner of that black screen, this should pop up. There we go.
It's just been a very long year. I was here last year, and it was awesome. towards that moment, June 20th. So we're hoping that, first thing to launch pad, we're really excited to be here, and we're on waiting for that 6.9 seconds on that motor birds, and into the 10,000-foot category is an exciting day.
What's very incredible about the Aggies' accomplishment last year is they were the number 4 team off the launch pad.
From the 18 we're watching the teams as they do all their procedures and final pre-flight checklists, check their competence as they prepare for the first sound.
So just that feat alone and being the number 4 team, they gained a tremendous amount of respect in the rocketry community, both with our sponsors who are job recruiters and their fellow peers in other universities around the world.
Emotionally, it was devastating. It was a very hard day for us to witness that. Literally a whole year of our lives were put in the game back together today. And we learned a lot along the way, and then just to kind of see it go off the smoke in the sky was really hard to swallow. I mean, myself, I'm standing on the launch pad, which is 3 stories up above, teams from across the world. And the second is fails, everyone's eyes turn and look up at the guy who pressed the button. After we kind of got over our pride and looked back on it, you can walk away and know that you learned something from that. So we're back at it, and we'll take another year of pushing ourselves to that. So we're excited about that.
Students, please note, they were not seen as a failure by any stretch. They didn't accomplish their goal, but they are definitely not failures. They were recognized as they were recognized as success last time. It's very difficult to do this.
The hard work that went into this for the entire year, we understand and believe that the ingenuity, teamwork, and determination that goes into building a rocket, and so we really commend you for those efforts. No matter the outcome of this week, you've still been successful. By testing those designs, you gained some insight into how rockets and rocket engines perform, and that will be invaluable to you as you move forward into back to school or into your career. Okay, team number 47, Miguel, come on up.
So the first year of our competition, University of Michigan won. The second year, McGill University won. We have about 124 teams. Compared to last year, we have 8 more states and 3 more countries represented at the Cup. So we're very fortunate. I'm very excited to host these folks here in southern New Mexico. What we're even more excited is the sponsors that allow us to put on this great event. They do come into our community, and we really see this at Spaceport America with these sponsors as a really grassroots effort to make these companies, convince these companies you do more business in New Mexico, you do more business in southern New Mexico. So this is a great event where we're not only grooming the next generation of decision makers for business, but we're working with the current sponsors as well. So that we've been very fortunate in that regard, and this event is definitely going to continue growing. But lastly, what I wanted to make extremely clear, I hope to see all of you out there. It does start next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the convention day in Las Cruces. If you want to come by, students or anybody, please feel free to come by. That's a free entry day. There at the convention center. You'd be surprised at how excited the students are to field questions, and even the job recruiters that are there. Field questions, pique their curiosity. They're eager. They're like sponges. They want to learn so much about New Mexico, but they also want to teach you so much about what they're accomplishing. So this is a really neat competition, really neat event. And then lastly, the launch days are going to be from Wednesday afternoon all the way through Saturday. If you're worried about how hot it's going to be next week, let me allay those fears. We have plenty of shade out there. We have food trucks. We have plenty of cold drinks out there. Make sure you're taken care of. And just for the safety, sometimes we overexert ourselves just a little bit. We are prepared to make sure that we help any of those folks that do get in a little bit of distress, or even if their car breaks down out there. We have the resources and procedures to make sure everybody stays healthy and has a fantastic event. So I hope to see everybody out there. We look forward to seeing you out there. And with that, Madam Mayor, I can field any questions or any further insight.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there any questions, comments, questions for?
Morning, Mr. Lopez.
Good morning, Commissioner
I
Hess.
understand this year the Lobos are also entered.
Yes, sir.
The Aggies, so we have some big,
We have a state competition here. Yes, sir. So we have our Atomic Aggies in their second year of competition, and in their first year of competition, we have the Lobo Launchers. And so this is extremely exciting. So we're starting, the space industry is growing in New Mexico, and I think evidence that we now have 3 universities, New Mexico Tech being the third, that already launches, and I think this community has seen them come through several times through the years, through the last couple of years. We already have that education community is growing the skill set that New Mexico can offer the market, and we're already seeing very positive impacts on that business growth. I understand that members of our community here in TRC actually hosted one of our customers that recently announced a groundbreaking, and that customer saw the hospitality. They saw the possibilities of TRC and really appreciated that as a group on an evening, an impromptu group of people kept coming together and introducing themselves to that customer, making sure that they felt welcome here in TRC. And then I also understand from another customer that they've made a local tradition of coming and recreating directly in TRC during their off time, wanting to come out and just really enjoy themselves. And I know that they're buying quite a bit of supplies from one of your retailers here, but I know that they're spending their downtime here in TRC as well. So really exciting things. I know we weren't here to talk about the Virgin announcement, but with that customer, with the increased customers, with the Spaceport America Cup, and with the announcement by Virgin, we're really excited at the trajectory that Spaceport America is on, and we really thank the city and the county for all the support that they've given us through the years.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any further questions, comments?
Hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning, excuse me a minute, item C3, presentation related to the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. Mary Jo Fall, Coronado Resource Conservation Development, and Gina Kelly. Excuse me, that's a lot. They make these titles long.
Yes,
to
they
read.
do.
I guess I don't need to practice on my reading.
Well, my title's always wrong. And Gina said that she would be gladly let me do all the talking today. So you guys are lucky.
Got it made, right?
Yes, because I can be very verbose, and we don't want that. We have
And
10
you know,
minutes.
I'm not. So I don't remember what month it was that we came to you and we talked to you about a potential project for trails and a footbridge over by Rotary Park and then down by Williamsburg. So I sent a packet to you about a one-page summary of kind of what we wanted to do, and then some maps. So this will kind of give you and the audience an idea of what we're talking about. So what we propose in this project is that we would do a footbridge down by Rotary Park, cross over, and on that farm there, that land, that belongs to the Shepherd Group, and that we would get, we've been in discussions with them already, get an easement from them to get over to the road, and then traverse down the road, and then get down by Williamsburg, and then do another footbridge over there, so that we could have a loop. And then we also want to promote, what does Attila call it? For the
Floating
river?
trails.
Yes, floating trails.
Floating trails.
So that, that's a thing now. But for people that want to float and kayak, and with Captain Bob's group, that eventually, we have a big grandiose plan that we can do some good places to take the rafts out at Rotary Park and then at Williamsburg so that they could have a good loop. And that we also want to partner with the Bureau of Reclamation and the BLM, who have that public land, so that they can go through their process and have more designated recreational trails up on their end, so that we can just grow this project. What we want to do is get free technical assistance and trail planning assistance from the National Park Service in this program. So I printed out, and in your packet is the application process that we are going to, if you approve that we would go through and submit that. And Gina and I are working on the proposal and in contact with Mr. Madrid, and then with Attila Baladi, the coordinator for this program with the National Park Service. And so this would just get free one-year technical assistance. And so what he would do is help us really develop a comprehensive trail for the whole big picture of what we're looking at. And we also want to see if we can tie in with the hospital. And so there was one in some of those maps, I drew one there from the hospital down to Riverside, which is then next to Ralph Edwards Park, so that we could kind of have a community park. So it's kind of a really big picture about future recreational development for trails. The trails that we're talking about on this side of the river would be for runners, walkers, horseback riding. We intend to have some designated trails for that also. And then whatever that we can develop through that. But also, besides recreational, it's a really good thing that we need to do more for our health and improve the overall health of our community and our visitors so that they have some designated areas to go. So this proposal that we're submitting for technical assistance is due June 30th. And then we're also presenting to the Village of Williamsburg tomorrow, but the first place we want to focus on would be the footbridge at Rotary Park, and so we ask that the city be the lead in this application process, and then as it develops, then if we need more planning, he should probably be able to get it done in a year, but you can get one more year just by sending a letter to the National Park Service if we don't have our plan developed, and then we could see how far that has to go. So he worked with the city before when we did the Healing Waters Trail. Gina and I did that together before. He's great to work with, very knowledgeable, knows how to engage the public and get their input so that we gather all the stakeholders' interests and figure out what they want to do on this and some of their ideas. So it's a great opportunity for the city. And like I said, we would like for you guys to be the ones that submit this because we're going to do your area first. So that's kind of the gist of it, right, Jim?
Yes, it is. Another thing is that we've already got the Healing Waters Trail, and this will be an enhancement to an existing trail system already. So we know that people, when they come here to visit and they look for outdoor recreation things to do, that trail gets a lot of use from our visitors. And so if we can expand upon that trail system and reach out more to the outdoor recreation people to come here and visit us, it's a younger crowd, it's a more active crowd. You know, it can give us a whole new market segment of people to promote to, because right now we're really focused on the hot springs, which is great, and I mean, those guys are full all winter long, but we need to expand our reach, and by providing more outdoor recreational opportunities, then I think we can do that. Oh yes, and the Rio Grande Trail. You're probably all aware of the Rio Grande Trail corridor. That's a statewide project all the way from Colorado down to Mexico. This will actually be looped in with that project. And if we can get a designation from them that this is a part of that project, then that'll open up the doors for increased grant application opportunities. So we could, you know, I'm going to go to that meeting next week, and then we can talk about ways that we can tie all this together. It's a big, grandiose plan, like Mary Jo says, but you know, that's the kind of thing we need to think about. We need to really think about moving forward and doing things that are going to be extending our reach and all of our opportunities, and it just makes life better for everybody here in the town. It's not just the visitors, it's everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Manager Madrid.
You know, Mayor, Commissioners, when I've met with them, we spend an hour together, and if I say 100 words, I still get tired just from all their energy that they have. At this point, we don't require formal approval because we don't have any funding or liability issues or anything like that. We just wanted to present this to you to keep you informed, and at the point where we do need your approval to make any commitments or anything like that, we will. I think this is going to be a great endeavor.
Mr. Madrid, I just wanted to clarify, and I don't know, but I believe if you're going to submit it on your behalf, then for you to sign it, you would need authority or do you?
No.
Okay.
No. Not under our form of
Oh, good,
government.
yeah, because you'll have to sign a document to submit it, and the resolution or a letter.
We can have the mayor's signature on
Okay,
it
wonderful, good.
without a commission
All
action,
right,
as long as we have the chief elected official.
And Mary Jo, to clear that up, I think the next item on our agenda is a resolution approving
Okay.
that authorization, so,
that'd be awesome.
so it'll be covered when we get there.
When we get to the village, do you want them to provide you a copy of their resolution too, or, because they're gonna do one also, I'm
I
assuming.
think when
And the
we,
county,
when we submit the application packet, all of that should be in the
Okay.
part of the packet.
good deal.
All right, thank you. Do we have any further questions, comments, concerns?
I just think this is a fantastic idea.
It's gotta be cool.
It's gonna be neat.
It is. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
only work on neat stuff.
Yes, right. We like presenting neat stuff, right? Right, guys? Scat cats, neat stuff. All right, the next item on our agenda this morning is item D, comments from the public. Remember our 3-minute rule. I ask that you approach the podium, give your name and address, and if you have any documentation that needs to come to the commission, please put it in the little black box right next to the mic. Any public comment this morning? Any public comment? Going once?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Madrid. I'm Lorena Miller, Executive Director of the Geronimo Trail National Scenic Byway, and we oversee the operation of the Geronimo Trail Visitor Center. And this year, the Visitor Center and the Chamber of Commerce, Truth or Consequences, Sierra County Chamber of Commerce, are partnering with a table out at the Spaceport America Cup. We do have the supplies we need, brochures, things on the local area, and because neither one of us have enough staff, is why we're partnering. There'll be volunteers from the Scenic Byway, and there'll be volunteers from the Chamber, so we'll have the 3 days covered. And I just wanted to let you know, we're looking forward to that. We will be out, I won't be out there, but we will have people out there. And also, I have support letters for the Rio Grande Trail project from Geronimo Trail National Scenic Byway and Sierra County Recreation and Tourism Advisory Board. Do they go to you, or do they go to the girls to be included with things they give you?
Either way.
Okay. I'll give them to Major. That way, if they want to revise it, I can revise it, re-sign.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comment this morning? Thank you, guys. Scat Cats, again, congratulations and keep up the good work.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Ron Pecoric, TRC. I have a couple items. One of them is, last meeting I brought up ransomware, and I was hoping that somebody looked into it and talked to Tyler about it, and because you can never say never. That hit us, that would be a real, and so I'd be appreciate if there was some comment about back if that was looked into. The roundabouts, I'm not happy with that's going to happen. It just feels like the New Mexico Department of Transportation is running roughshod over our community and this city commission. I just don't believe that is the right thing to have those two roundabouts at New School Road and Smith Avenue. And I was thinking about trying to get the first responders through those roundabouts. Where are people going to pull over when they have to take up both lanes to get their fire trucks through there? That's a concern I had. Then the other thing is, Commissioner Seghetti, in your resignation from the Public Advisory Board, you said that you would like to finish your work with energy cost adjustment, and as a commissioner, I believe we're all in agreement on the direction. I'm just wondering where we're at that, because Municipal Code 14-45-7 still says pass-through, not energy cost adjustment. It still says increase instead of change, and I thought we were going to have that looked at annually. I think it was October we discussed it at the Public Utility Advisory Board, so I was wondering where we're at on that. And one other item I had was that they talked about having a float, the previous presentation. Sunday, 2 motorboats ran up the river side by side, and it's posted no wake. And when they hit the rapids, they had turned around and came back down, and they were racing each other. So, and by the time I tried to call our police department, they're somewhere else. So, I guess I'll just have to start taking videos or pictures or something, but it is posted. And I have sent our chief email and pictures that the river is posted as a no wake. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Do I have any more public comment this morning? Any more public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is item E, response to public comment. Do we have any response to public comment this morning?
Yeah, I'll just
Commissioner Zaghetti.
just let Mr. Pecoric know, yes, it has not disappeared. It's been kind of hit by pushed back by a few other priorities, but I've still got it, and I intend to bring it back up before the commission within the next month or so.
Thank you, Mr. Zaghetti. Commissioner Heschler.
Yeah, just a quick response about the no wake in the river. The authority for that is New Mexico State Parks, and you know they're about 10 or 15 minutes away at best, if they mobilize their boat to come down and all that. So the best thing that we can do, Mr. Pecoric, is to take a photograph. There's only 1 or 2 places to come out of that river with a boat, and that's at Paseo del Rio Park is one of those locations. And so if you would make a call, perhaps we can respond to that location and meet those boats, or they could meet those boats when they come out of the river. And certainly a photo of them doing whatever they're doing would be great for evidence. And so that if they wanted to write a citation, perhaps they could do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Heschler. Manager Madrid.
Not necessarily a response, Mayor, but just a reminder that for our next commission meeting, our public comment, public input will be in the evening here at the chambers at 6 p.m. And it'll last for a couple of hours. If we have so many people that it takes longer than that, we'll make appointments. That won't be an issue. We'll find a way to listen to everyone. Just a reminder. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Manager. Do we have any further comments, questions, concerns? Thank you. Thank you all for your public comment again. Moving on, the next item on our agenda is item F, the consent calendar, which consists of F1, City Commission regular minutes, May 22nd, 2019, F2, accounts payable for May 2019, and F3, approve the 2018-19 contracts for Deschamps, Sage, and Gibson as the court-appointed attorneys for the indigent defenses for municipal court. Do I have a motion?
I might just comment, the public defender contracts are similar contracts we use every year at municipal courts. And I think we look at the terms of the contract, they are beneficial to the city. So I'm in favor of them being approved.
Thank you, Attorney Rubin.
Mayor Whitehead, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as you just presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as noted. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item is item G, public hearings. We have one public hearing, discussion action, request for a special use permit and variance for development standards for the developing of a 6-unit apartment complex at the property located at Original Town Site Subdivision Block 26, lot, the north 10 feet of Lot 12, and all of lots 13, 14, and 15. Manager Madrid.
Mayor, Commissioners, before we open the public hearing, I think I'll ask Tracy to come up and just give us a little bit of background on the request and background in relation to that particular neighborhood.
Good morning, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. So the public hearing will be a request for a special use permit. No variance will be needed at this lot after all. Special use permit for development of a 6-unit apartment complex on the lot on Pershing Street. That's going to be between 6th and 7th on Pershing Street. The lot's zoned as C1. The special use is required for development of apartments within this zone per section 11-9-7E-2. The applicant is requesting special use for development of not only the apartment complex, but per our municipal code, it does require a 10-unit minimum, and they are requesting special use for a 6-unit. On the Pershing side, or on the 7th Street side of Pershing, there is a 5-unit apartment complex, and on the other side of the proposed complex is a 3-unit. We also have an 8-unit at 7th Street as well. So it does meet, the 6-unit apartment complex does meet the overall standards that are within that area. This time I'll stand for the hearing.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public that would like to sign in to speak as an opponent or proponent if you have not already signed in? You're signed in though, right? Yes. Okay. At this time, I will open the public hearing. This will be a batter shell process. So I need for Laura Ariola, Renato Ariola to stand up, Chris and Joe James to stand up, please. And the clerk will give you a note. I also need Tracy, probably the city manager.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so looks like the 4 people that have signed up as proponents. So what I will do is I will ask the staff for presentation, which you've already done, correct?
Correct.
The next, I will ask the proponents to come down. They have 5 minutes, is that correct?
Yes, I mean, one suggestion.
Sure.
You might want to maybe just get in minutes why, for that feels we don't have to worry about it very, because I know you and I talked about this, you might want to keep that to the record.
So a variance would only be required if we were splitting the lot, and both lots would need to meet the standards of a paved curb and gutter road. We're not doing any lot split. They're just developing on a pre-existing lot. And we do have both the owner as well as the owner applicant representative here on site as well.
Thank you. The next person to speak would be the proponents. The first one I have is Laura Ariola. Would you come to the mic, please? And just speak on behalf of what we are doing here and what's being represented.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Ariola. I came here as a traveler, and I'm having a hard time looking for an apartment. So we settled here. We love the place. It's a small town. We love it, and my kids love it too. So we came into a conclusion wherein we need to provide an appropriate apartment or additional apartment in this little town to help our people here that needing an appropriate and a good place to stay. We ended up, me and my husband, deciding to buy a lot. And actually we have an existing 3-unit apartments just next to the area that we are building. So this is our plan, and then with the help of our contractor, the help of the bank that they approve us, so we are needing an approval for a special permit for this project.
Thank you, Laura. Does anyone have any questions for Laura? Commissioners? Thank you. Renato is next. Would you like to come up to the mic, or do you feel she spoke for you?
He's not a public speaker.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you. The next is Chris. How do you pronounce your last name?
Branch.
Franich.
Good morning. I just wanted to say that I'm Chris, general contractor out of Las Cruces. We're going to be providing a lot of income coming into this, or revenue for this village. Most of all the materials are going to be coming from local suppliers. It's just too expensive to ship everything from Cruces to here. And it'd be a good opportunity for suppliers here to get some revenue generated. It's my understanding from talking with the local banker that new construction doesn't happen too often in this town. And he's wanting to change that, I'm wanting to change that, and get some good revenue generated.
Thank you, Chris. Does anyone have any questions for Chris? All right, Joe James.
I own the apartment right to the north, Popular Apartments. And my only objection of this is I understand it's going to be a two-story. And in the wintertime, that will block the sun from my apartment completely. Mine is roughly 14, 15 foot high. And the shadow to the north is over 20 foot in the wintertime. And right now, I don't have any apartments rented. I'm doing minor cosmetic stuff in them. But you depend on the light in the wintertime, and the heat you register through your, windows is solar heat and stuff for the walls and, the apartments themselves. And like I said, I understand it's going to be a two-story.
Joe, let me clarify here. You signed in as a proponent, so are you in favor of this, or are you against this?
I'm not familiar with that. I signed in against it.
So Attorney Rubin, he signed in as a proponent, but in actuality, he's opposing.
Right. Well, we usually prefer that people, of course, sign in the correct way, but nevertheless, I think he needs to do process. I think it's appropriate to hear from him so he gets to say. So I think it's
okay. Do you want me to note that here on this sheet?
Well, no, actually, I don't really change what he signed in on, but nevertheless, we just have the minutes reflect that even though he signs a component, that he's actually speaking
as an opponent. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry about that. I haven't been to a meeting in about 5 years.
And one significance about that is before he was a proponent, he would have had the right to cross-examine other witnesses, had we known as a proponent. We were told as a proponent, so we didn't do that, but the proponents would have the opportunity to cross-examine if they wish to.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's about all I've got to say.
Okay.
I'd have no objections if it was a one-story building.
Thank you.
But like I said, a two-story is going to cause me some problems.
Thank you. At this time, since he is an opponent opposing it because it is going to be a two-story building, would any of you like to talk and explain to him what the process is and what you are doing? And is it going to be a two-story? It is a two-story. Tracy?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. Mayor Pro Tem's not here, but it is going to be a two-story, and it is being developed per all of our development standards and codes within our municipal code. All plans and reviews will be sent to the firm that we have procured to ensure that it meets all of our requirements.
Thank you.
Tracy? Now, regarding that, that's going to be on that property between the two existing buildings, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, is it going to be centered on that property, or is it be toward the north end or south end? Where exactly within that parcel is the building going to be located?
So currently, the plans right now have been sent up, and they're being reviewed and developed at this time.
It's to
To the north.
To the north?
So,
Okay, yeah, that would, okay, because if it was farther to the south, that would alleviate some of the shadowing issues that were, that Joe had mentioned. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next, thank you, Tracy. The next is public presentation. Is there any of the public that would like to speak in favor or against this? Nope. And the next is moving on to commission. Are there any of the commissioners have any questions, comments? Manager Madrid, Attorney Rubin?
Yeah, I'd like to just make it one more point in the record, maybe again, directing this to Tracy. Tracy, can we just comment as to whether all the proper notices were sent out to all the affected areas and, you know,
correct, all proper and required documentation, application fees, and certified mailings, as well as the public notice was all on file and sent out.
Thank you.
So Tracy, just to be clear, zoning does allow for two-story construction on that lot?
Correct, yes. We do have specific height requirements, but it is within an allowance for the zoning.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I'd like to ask some questions to the contractor, if I may have your comment. Good morning. So the plans for this building are already drawn up, and have they been submitted, or?
Yes, they're in review with the city of Cherokee. They are also in review with the state as well.
Okay, and what is the square footage of this building, upstairs and downstairs?
The square footage, do you remember off the top of your head what the square footage is? I don't either. I actually have plans in the truck. I can bring them in if you'd like.
No, that's okay.
So
there's
I believe it's around 6,000 square feet, 6,134, I believe.
And then how many square feet per each unit?
Per unit,
Divided?
yeah, divided by 6, yeah.
Okay.
They're 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
And there'll be 3 on the ground floor then, and 3 on the second floor?
Yes.
Is that what you're projecting?
Yes.
Okay. And for the owners, do you know how much you're going to charge per unit, approximately?
We're thinking about 650 to 700.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions, comments, concerns? I will now close this public hearing, and we will take action on the item. So do I stand for a motion on the special use permit for development standards for the developing of a 6-unit apartment complex on the property located as I noted.
Mayor Whitehead, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for a special use permit and variance for development standards for the development of a 6-unit apartment complex on the property located at the original town site subdivision, lot 26, lot N10, of lot north 10 feet of lot 12, and all of lots 13, 14, and 15 as presented. I'll second it.
Attorney Rubin, I have a question real quick. It says on here, the special use permit and variance. Tracy noted that we did not need the variance,
Right.
but do we still approve it with the variance?
I would not, no.
Okay.
Can I have a
I'd like
motion
to
to
amend my
amend that?
motion to strike the word variance from my motion.
Thank you. And Paul, did you second it? I have a motion and a second to approve the request for a special use permit as noted by Commissioner Heschler. Madam Clerk, do we need roll call on that? Or is there any further questions, comments, or concerns?
I would like to make a comment on this. And I understand, you know, Joe's concern about the shade on his building. This kind of issue comes up occasionally when you're dealing with solar power. If you have an area where let's see, there is no legal procedure that would stop the construction of a a building, a sign or whatever that would shade another person's property, as long as that the object that's being constructed is within the code that's applicable for that area. And in that case, a two-story building is permitted in this area. If you want to preserve the sunlight on your property, and again, this is particularly dealing with the solar power installations, the person would have to actually buy from the owner of the neighboring property and not exactly right away, but they would have to buy the limitation on that property that would prevent them from shading their installation. So without that, some kind of an agreement that had been in place prior to that, there is nothing that can be done to stop the construction, as long as that building meets the code standards there. And whereas I sympathize with Joe completely on this, there's really nothing we can do to stop that, because that's just the way the law sits.
Thank you, Commissioner Zaghetti. Are there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item H, ordinance, resolutions, and zoning. Item H1, discussion action, ordinance number 702, for publication, amending the code of ordinance by adding a section related to sale of real property pursuant to NMSA 1978-3-54-1. Manager Madrid.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is in relation to the possible sale of city property based on an offer that has been received. This ordinance is required to be published before it is actually adopted. This item is to approve the publication of the ordinance. I'll ask Jay to give us a little more background.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, good morning, everybody. The provisions of the words are bound by the statute, section 3-54-1, when you're selling real property. And there is a threshold limit of $25,000 the statute sets forth. Had the appraised value been less than $25,000, had the sales price been less than $25,000, we wouldn't need to do an ordinance. Something you could do is just a more informal procedure. But we did properly get an appraisal, and the appraisal did come in at $70,000. So with that being said, and the fact that we have a proposed sale, we did have to go through the ordinance procedure, which is what we set forth here. And this is what I prepared for you. And I'll just take a moment or two to just kind of go over with you. Okay, A and B are just standard provisions that we look at the property. The legal description that I came up with, I took that from two sources. The purchase agreement had the description partially set forth, and then I went and looked at the appraisal and actually had a little more details. So that's a kind of a combination of those two documents, what the legal description is. We entered into negotiations with A and B Southwest. I'm not clear what A and B Southwest is. I put in the words for a New Mexico limited liability company. The purchase agreement doesn't really say what they are. I don't think it really is material to what we're doing here. It turns out later on there's some other form, we'll revise that when we have the final hearing. So I just took a stab at and called it a limited liability company. D, we have not determined the real property is really needed for any other purpose. And with E and F, we are showing here that the proposed purchase price is equal to the appraised value. So the material terms is that the purchaser, A and B Southwest, would pay $70,000 effect at closing. The closing cost shall be divided between the parties, and we're also putting in here, I thought paragraph C was also important, just something I threw in there. The purchaser acknowledged that he is buying the property as its condition, and cities made no warranties or representations regarding the real property, nor whether the real property can be used for any particular purpose. That could be an issue later on, if there's ever some zoning questions that may come up as to what the property may be used for. I just want to make it clear that by us, and I wanted the buyer to be aware, so that by us going through with this transaction, if in fact it does go through, that we're not making any promises later on about what the property would be used for. So that was something I wanted to make sure we put in there. So as per state statutes, we would just go through the normal publication procedure. When we come back for a final hearing, assuming it does pass at that time, we have to wait for a 45-day period before the ordinance actually go into effect. So you have that delay before you can actually effectuate the transaction, and that's it, basically.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have any further questions, comments, concerns? I will stand for a motion then, please.
Mayor Whitehead, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 702 for publication, amending the Code of Ordinances by adding a section related to sale of real property pursuant to NMSA 1978-3-54-1 as presented by Attorney Rubin.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 702 as noted by Commissioner Heschler. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Senator Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark is absent. Honorable Ralph Heschler?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Joe Sigeti?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item H2, discussion action, ordinance number 703, introduction authorizing the issuance of Joint Utility System Improvement Revenue Bond Series 2019A. Chris Muirhead?
Good morning. Yes, Chris Muirhead with the Model Firm. We're serving as the city's bond counsel on this transaction through the USDA, which we've done in the past on other transactions. This is a first reading of both of these ordinances. Let me just get you, I know you're familiar with the project, which is the wastewater system improvements. The financing, I know the Finance Authority is always an excellent option to use. In this instance, it's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the benefits there are that it is giving, the transaction consists of a $715,000 loan, which is the Series A bonds. With that, and that was obligated in 2016, is a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture for $4,515,400. So that's obviously an excellent benefit. Given the cost of the project in 2019, USDA supplemented that financing with a commitment of $315,000 in the loan, which is the Series 2019 B bonds. The question obviously is why can't we just lump them together and do one bond ordinance for the whole financing? Given the federal regulations for the USDA program, they want to see a separate ordinance for and a separate bond for each obligated amount of the financing. And with that is a loan or grant in the amount of $485,600. So again, very favorable financial terms in terms of what is a loan and what is a grant. Also favorable on the $715,000 loan, the interest rate on that for up to 40 years is 1.65%, which obviously is extremely favorable to the city. How that is set is the USDA is going to look at what the loan amount, or what the interest rate was at the time of commitment and at the time of closing, and whichever one's lower they will give you. So the 1.65 was at the time of commitment. So that is excellent. The $315,000 loan is going to be a little bit higher at 2.5% because that money was obligated obviously 3 years later, but both still very favorable interest rates rather than going out into the capital markets or finding with a private lender. The other benefit is these terms can take the borrowing out 40 years, which is unique and not the norm with what you would find if you're going through an additional lender or another lender, and it can be repaid at any time the USDA is holding the bonds. So tremendous flexibility for the city. The pledge is the net revenues from the joint utility enterprise fund of the city. So you pay your operation and maintenance expenses. What is left are your net revenues, and that is the pledge toward the USDA for repayment of these transactions. There is no other pledge of gross receipts tax, property taxes, or any other revenues of the city. It is a special limited obligation. These ordinances, they're lengthy in terms of 30 pages. A lot of that is just how the bond is structured and functions and the funds that are created. I'm happy to answer any questions about that, and I know the adoption is going to be at this point July 10th after publication. I'll be here to answer any questions at that point too in terms of a public hearing. But that's kind of the overview of what this is. The $715,000 transaction and had an interim financing. This will take that interim financing out that was with another lender that serves that role as kind of a bridge financing option. This will repay that, put the USDA bond in place of that at the 1.65% and the 2.5% over up to 40 years. So again, very favorable terms of federally subsidized program to the USDA. Happy to answer any questions about the terms of the deal or what these ordinances are intended to do. But again, we will be back, or I'll be back on the 10th to further discuss in the public hearing context.
Thank you, Mr. Muirhead. Manager Madrid.
The only thing that I would add, Mayor and Commissioners, is that the USDA has reviewed our financial statements prior to coming to this agreement, and these elements have been built into the preliminary budget and are well within what we can afford within our joint utility fund.
Thank you. Do I have any questions from the commission?
Well,
Commissioner Zaghetti.
Just one clarification on some previous issues. We've had some problems when we use the word, the joint utility wording. Does that create a problem in this case, or are we okay?
No, we're okay in this case, but that is something that we do not want to do in the future.
Okay.
We have provided the USDA the different elements that would show the different utilities and their financial position. So I think this may be the last time we see that kind of language.
And if I may, thank you, City Manager and Councilor. What complicates that here too, and why I think we want to use this language, the USDA does want to see it itemized in between the two elements of your joint utility, the water and the wastewater. Here, what is problematic is you have about 6 or 7 outstanding debts through the Finance Authority and the Environment Department that have pledged the net revenues to the joint utility. These are all on parity with each other, which means they have equal footing, one to the other. And if you break out and just have the wastewater or the water separate, and then try to say that that's on a parity with the other, it complicates that analysis. And so I will talk to USDA further about that, but that is kind of the problematic legal structuring aspect of it. But you're exactly right, and so Mr. Madrid as well, that the USDA has a reading of the regulations that would say that they want to see separate of those elements of your joint utility.
Thank you. Do I have any further questions, comments, concerns?
Recommend your approval, Mayor.
Thank you. I will stand for a motion.
And on that note, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 703, authorizing the issues of joint utility system improvement revenue bonds, series 2019A, in the amount of $715,000 for the purpose of acquiring, extending, enlarging, bettering, repairing, or otherwise improving the wastewater system within the city's joint utility system, as presented by Mr. Moorhead.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 703. Are there any further questions, comments, concerns? Attorney Rubin, you okay?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Hearing none, Madam Clerk, I will stand for roll call.
Honorable Senator Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark is absent. Honorable Ralph Fischler?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable George Seghetti?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item H3, discussion action, ordinance number 704, introduction authorizing the issuance of joint utility system improvement revenue bond series 2019B. Chris your head, you're on again.
Yeah, and so, thank you, Mayor. What I just went over, actually, I kind of lumped them both together. So the A's are the 715,000, the 2019 B's are the 315,000. The structuring is consistent between the two ordinances. Again, the reason why we can't just do it as one ordinance for $1,030,000 is just the USDA regulations. But the ordinance and what it is doing and the pledge it is making and the terms of the bond are consistent with what I mentioned a few minutes ago. I lumped them together.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, I will ask for questions. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Attorney Rubin?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, refresh my memory. Did we already go to publication on these? Or?
Yeah, so, thank you, Mr. Rubin. Good, excellent question. So, they have not gone public. They will publish Friday. In working with the city, the staff, Tracy, and with the local paper, the introduction today, they have been submitted, obviously subject to you all approving this introduction, to run Friday for the 2-week period to run before the July 10th commission meeting, of which they will be considered for adoption. So that would be satisfying the publication requirements under your Open Meetings Act and the state statute.
So really what I should have said then with H2 and H3, when we were approving these, we were actually approving to go to publication.
For publication.
I didn't make that clear, that, you know, so I maybe with the next motion over H3, you can make it clear that for H2 and H3, we're approving for publication.
For publication.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, I will stand for a motion.
Mayor Whitehead, I'd like to move that we approve ordinance number 704 for publication, authorizing the issuance of Joint Utility System Improvement Revenue Bonds Series 2019B in the amount of $315,000 for the purpose of improving the wastewater system within the City of Truth or Consequences utility system. And I would also like to amend my previous motion to include for publication, the words for publication with my motion.
Thank you.
And do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 704 as noted by Commissioner Heschler. Are there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Senator Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark is absent. Honorable Ralph Keshler?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable George Takei?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. We'll see you next month.
Thank you. And I would just like to note that ordinance numbers 702, 703, and 704 are for publication. The next item on our agenda this morning is item H4, discussion action resolution number 45-1819, authorizing participation in local government road fund LGRF program administered by New Mexico Department of Transportation and MDOT. City Manager, Madrid.
Mayor, Commissioners, the resolution is required by Department of Transportation to receive the funds that they have allocated to us. The total funding is $40,000. The project that was selected is on River Road from 10th Street to the bottom of the hill. This would be a new surface construction. This piece was selected because the cost estimate is the closest to the funding estimate. We'll have to put in, I think, about $7,000 more from our own funds than we had anticipated. But that's the reason that this was selected. And it is a continuation of an ongoing extension of that particular street. And we ask for your approval.
Thank you. Do I have any questions, comments, concerns from the commission? Attorney Rubin, you okay with this?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
I will stand for a motion.
Mayor Whitehead, I'd like to move that we approve resolution number 45-18-19, authorizing participation in the local government road fund, a program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation to improve River Road to 10 and to the bottom of the hill as presented by Manager Movement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 45-1819 as noted by Commissioner Heschler. Are there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, I will ask Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Senator Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark is absent. Honorable Ralph Keshler?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable George Takei?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. The next item on our agenda this morning is item H5, discussion action, resolution number 46-1819, supporting an application to the National Park Service, Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program for technical assistance. City Manager.
Mayor, Commissioners, this resolution is a requirement to be included in our application packet, and it is related to the presentation that we saw earlier, and I ask for your approval.
Thank you. Do I have any questions, comments, concerns? I will stand for a motion, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move for approval of resolution number 46-18/19, supporting an application to the National Park Service, Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program for technical assistance as presented by City Manager Madrid.
Thank you, and previously by Mary Jo Montgomery. Mary Jo Ball, sorry. A lot of Mary Jo's.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 46-1819 as noted by Commissioner Zaghetti. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Senator Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark is absent. Honorable Rob Fischler.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable George Takei.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item I under new business. I1, discussion action, approve MOU between County of Sierra and the City of TRC regarding the administration and enforcement of the city's floodplain management regulations. City Manager Madrid.
Mayor, Commissioners, the city is required to have a floodplain manager. This is one of the endeavors that we will not be funding a full-time position for, as has been discussed before. We'll be using the funding that we're not using for a full-time position to contract with the county to do our floodplain management for us. The amount is $5,000. It is a requirement. The amount of work will be intermittent, but one thing that is mandatory, and Tracy, you might need to help me with the word, the floodplain has to be redefined, reassessed, I can't remember the word, every 10 years, and that's coming up. So the city would be involved in that, and it's in relation to evaluating, that's the word, evaluating, whether the floodplain has changed, and the eligibility for floodplain insurance for individuals, and as part of an entire flood management plan. So that's the purpose of this agreement. We do not have the expertise on our staff to do it alone, and we believe that the amount is reasonable and the expertise is not in question at all, and we ask for your approval.
Thank you. Do I have any questions, comments, concerns from the commission? Hearing none, I will stand for a motion to approve the MOU.
Manager Whitehead, I'd like to move that we have...
A manager?
No, you're a manager.
You got your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Manager Madrid to enter into an MOU between the County of Sierra and the City of Truth or Consequences regarding the administration and enforcement of the city's floodplain management regulations, as she presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further questions, comments, concerns? I do have one question. Do we have this $5,000 somewhere that we don't have to take away from one to do the other?
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item J, reports. First, we have a city manager. Do you have a report to say?
I have a brief report, and, you know, Mayor and Commissioners, sometimes we get caught up in grand projects, catching big fish for employers and bringing huge events to our town. But sometimes we have small things that we do that make a difference. And on the screen, we have some new trash receptacles. Small things that make a big difference in our community. They're very hard to vandalize. You can tip them over if you're fairly strong, and they've already done that. But you can't take them home without a piece of equipment. They show that we have pride in our community, and I think it's a very nice touch. OJ, I think, is not only working with his staff and with the rest of the management team to do a good job, but to do it with pride and to show that our community is friendly and it really wants it to be a nice experience wherever you are in the city. So that's just one small example. We also have a meeting tomorrow regarding the master plan for Ralph Edwards Park. And I think that's with the architect that did the original design. I don't think the design is final yet, but we will be reactivating that project since we have partial funding for it. And we will be trying to identify complete funding for it this year to get it done within the next 6 to 10 months. So that's going on. The final thing that I wanted to address that I really shouldn't have to, but I have this feeling that some people really believe that we don't think about some things. And it's in regard to tearing up streets when you have to fix water lines. And one of the things that I did yesterday, I went out with our street department manager just to go look at the different areas that the water department has planned for improvements. And it was to make sure we leave those streets alone till the water improvements are done. By the same token, if we're going to work on any street improvements, then we check with the water department, do you need to get in the street before we put the surface on there? Because, and maybe it's just to annoy me, but I've heard a few people say, you guys are just going to go in and tear up the streets anyway when you have a water leak. Well, sometimes that's going to happen because we just plain get a leak. But it is not going to happen because we didn't anticipate one or the other. So I just want to assure everyone that coordination takes place. And that's my report for the day.
Thank you. Attorney Rubin, do you have a report?
No, I do not, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baca?
I do not, thank you.
Commissioner Heschler? Commissioner Zaghetti?
Just one quick comment. After our offsite, and prior to that, I was doing a little bit of research in our ordinances, and one of my pet peeves is derelict properties. And looking through our ordinances, I believe we have a lot more clout, a lot more teeth in our ordinances that we have not been using to address some of the properties around town. And I would like to bring that back, in the next month or so for a little more detailed commission discussion in front of the commission and help give our staff a little more direction on how to handle these situations. Because if we want our community to grow and we want the people that will be coming here for the spaceport events and other things that are going on, if we want to attract people to our town, we really need to be looking at addressing those problems, because we want to give as favorable an impression of our community as we can. I mean, we don't need to look like a scene out of Leave It to Beaver or one of those, with everything perfectly manicured. But we have room for improvement, and I believe we have the means to do so. Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. The only report I have today is just a reminder that on the next agenda for June 26th, we will not have public comment or response to public comment, but we will have public comment with the manager in the evening, beginning at 6 p.m. here in the chambers. So if anybody needs to voice their comments or make public comments, please come at 6 p.m. here to the chambers. Manager Madrid will be here to listen to you. That's all I have. Thank you. And the next item on our agenda is item K, executive session. We have K1, real property, various properties pursuant to 10-15-1H8. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Mayor Whitehead, I move that we go into executive session, real property, various properties pursuant to 10-15-1HB, and adjourn our regular meeting.
Nick, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to go into executive session as noted by Commissioner Heschler. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Senator Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clerk Hudson. Honorable Ralph Fischler.
Present.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable George Takei.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will now go into executive session as soon as we clear the room. Thank you all. Thanks, Chuck.